Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Inshallah, I'm going to be talking about a few verses from Surah Al-Hujurat, and then after that, some verses from Surah Al-Dhariyat. First of all, Surah Al-Hujurat is one of those surahs which has beautiful lessons related to akhlaq, manners, respect towards elders, respect for scholars, and so on. And to avoid backbiting, to avoid having misgivings about people, suspicion. All of these things are mentioned, the issue of racism and staying away from racism. These things are all discussed in this beautiful surah of Surah Al-Hujurat. This surah is called Hujurat, referring to the chambers or the dwellings of the Prophet ﷺ. And the story goes that there were some people not understanding the respect that was due to the Prophet ﷺ. They came to his house, and from outside the walls of the house, they started shouting out to him and asking him to come out because they wanted to see him. So this is something that obviously now, if we've been taught the right manners and the right akhlaq, this is something that you don't do to elders and scholars and people that you respect. You wait for them, and in their time, according to their convenience, they will see you. You don't see them according to your convenience. Okay, so this is a very important lesson that we learned from this story. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says about that incident, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يُنَادُونَكَ مِنْ وَرَاءِ الْحُجُرَاتِ أَكْثَرُهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ. Those people that are calling out to you from beyond the chambers, most of them, they don't understand. They don't have any aql. They don't have any sense, because they're doing something which is completely illogical and disrespectful. And then the Prophet ﷺ is addressed, وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ صَبَرُوا حَتَّى تَخْرُجَ إِلَيْهِمْ لَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُمْ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. If they waited, if they were patient until you came out to them, O Prophet of Allah, then that would be better for them. And indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is forgiving and merciful. So this is again something that we learn. We should, when it comes to elders, parents, community elders, scholars, we should make sure that we don't inconvenience them when they're busy or they cannot see us. We try to work our schedule according to their time and not their schedule according to our time. So this is again something we learn from this. Another story which is mentioned in which is a few ayahs later in verse 9, is a story which is related about the Prophet ﷺ, that he had to go and see the Ra'isul Munafiqeen that we mentioned earlier in the month, the person whose name was Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. So the Prophet ﷺ had to go see him for something, so he rode a donkey and went to him. This person couldn't directly insult the Prophet ﷺ, so he said something very derogatory. He said that the stench of this donkey is very horrible to me. I don't like the stench of this donkey. So indirectly he was expressing his displeasure at the Prophet ﷺ coming to him, but he couldn't directly say it to him directly, so he used the donkey to express his feeling. So the persons that were with the Prophet ﷺ, they got upset. One of them stood up and said that, Wallahi, the stench of this donkey is better than your smell. So this was a response to the munafiq. So then another person stood up who happened to be from the tribe of Abdullah ibn Ubay to stand up for his tribesman, even though he was a Muslim. And what resulted was that a fist fight took place. Actual fighting took place amongst the Muslims. So this is something we learn from this story. And then what happened was, the munafiq was not even part of the fist fight. He basically stood on the side and watched the Muslims fighting. So this lesson we learn from this story is that when it comes to disputes and fights, the shaitan will come and intervene, or humans in shaitan form will infiltrate, cause up problems between people, and cause fights between people, and then when that fight erupts, they will stand to the side and laugh and enjoy the fun. So this is exactly what happened in this incident. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed verses in which He says, وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا. If there are two groups of people that are believers and they start fighting amongst each other, then what are you supposed to do? You're not supposed to add fuel to the fire. Well, you're supposed to make islah between them. You're supposed to make sure that they reconcile and that fight ends and they go away with the love and affection for each other as Muslim brothers. فَإِن بَغَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا عَلَى الْأُخْرَى فَقَاتِلُوا الَّتِي تَبْغِي حَتَّى تَفِيءَ إِلَى أَمْرِ اللَّهِ فَإِن فَاءَتْ فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا بِالْعَدْلِ وَأَقْسِطُوا. However, if there is one, even amongst the believers, if one is being oppressive over the other, then even the Muslims are supposed to fight the oppressive party. Okay, so there's one party who are believers, but they are being oppressive over the other, then they should also be fought against, because they are doing dhulm, and the opposite party are now madloom. So when there's a zalim who is doing dhulm, then the zalim must be stopped. There's a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned, "Unsur akhaka zaliman aw madluman." Help your brother, whether he's a zalim or he's a madloom. Help your brother whether he's being oppressive or he's being oppressed. So the Sahaba said, we understand that if a person is being oppressed, he should be helped, but how can we help a person who is a zalim? The Prophet ﷺ responded by saying, by stopping his dhulm, you're helping him. By stopping his dhulm, you're helping him. So this is the order. So the first thing, if two parties are fighting, make islah between them, and this is a rewarding thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for that. Just like a person who causes fights between people is going to be punished for it, similarly a person who reconciles between people and gets people together, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward them for it. And in the case of dhulm being done, we need to stop the hand of the zalim. Even though he may be a believer, we have to stop that, and this is what we learn from these two ayat. And of course the background of the story, we need to make sure that we do not fall prey to the shayateen, whether they are shayateen in human form or actual shayateen themselves. Going on to Surah Qaf. Towards the end of Surah Qaf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes that He created the heaven and earth in 6 days. And the background of this verse is that some people of the book, Jews and Christians, they still do to this day, their belief is that God created the heavens and earth in 6 days, and then the 7th day He rested. So this is again something which is derogatory to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need rest. لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. Drowsiness and sleep doesn't overpower Him. He doesn't need those things. If we say that He got tired, or He needs rest, or He needs sleep, then this is something that is not worthy of someone who is controlling the heavens and the earth. So in response to the claim that the Christians and Jews had, that He rested on the 6th day or the 7th day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded by saying, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا فِي سِتَّةِ أَيَّامٍ وَمَا مَسَّنَا مِن لُغُوبٍ. Indeed, we did create the heavens and the earth and whatever is in between them in 6 days, and tiredness did not even touch us. Tiredness did not touch us. فَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا يَقُولُونَ. O Prophet of Allah, be patient about what they're saying. Meaning, you have to bear with what they're saying and basically continue to do your da'wah. وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الشَّمْسِ وَقَبْلَ الْغُرُوبِ. Continue to praise your Lord before the rise of the sun and before the sunset. And وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَسَبِّحْهُ وَأَدْبَارَ السُّجُودِ. And also at night, glorify Him, and after sajda, do the same thing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet ﷺ to be patient at the claims that they make. People tend to get angry and very worked up. Of course, we should feel passionate about anything that is said about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If someone is saying something derogatory about Him, but at the same time we have to be wise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Prophet to make sabr about what the people are saying about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so they said something derogatory, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet to make sabr, be patient. So we need to understand that we need to learn restraint from these verses. We've heard time and again that the Prophet ﷺ was insulted many times by the disbelievers. And sometimes they call him sahir, a magician, sometimes they call him majnoon, a crazy person, and different things that they used to call him. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say at that point? At the end of Surah Dhariyat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to the Prophet ﷺ, فَتَوَلَّ عَنْهُمْ فَمَا أَنْتَ بِمَلُومٍ. Turn away from them, and you are not blameworthy. So if these people are insulting you and they are saying bad things about you, again the Prophet is being told, rather than engaging them, turn away from them. And if you do turn away from them and leave them and not give da'wah to them, you're not to be regarded as being blameworthy for it. Now when the Sahaba heard this verse, they became a little bit worried, because they thought that the Prophet was being told to turn away from all the humanity, all the humans in general. So Allah revealed the next verse, which we've probably heard many times before, وَذَكِّرْ إِنَّ الذِّكْرَى تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And remind, continue to remind, because the reminder is beneficial for the believers. Okay, what does reminder mean? Advising, telling again and again. That's why we have lectures. That's why I'm talking here. Reminding. Okay, maybe you've heard all of these things before. We've heard, some people say, oh, what the Sheikh's saying, I've heard it 10 times before. That's not the point. The point is, I've heard it before, but how much of it have I implemented it into my life? That's the question. Okay? So, the reminder is beneficial to who? To the people who actually believe. Okay? So, if we have Iman, then the purpose of lectures, the purpose of talking, the purpose of reminding is to basically light up that flame of Iman that we already have in our heart and basically get it to work again. Blow onto that ember, that coal that exists within us. If that coal doesn't exist, then obviously no reminder is going to work. No lecture is going to work. And those are the people whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed the Prophet ﷺ to turn away from, because they were the ones that were insulting the Prophet ﷺ. And then the ayah goes on to say, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I only created the jinn and the ins so that they would worship me. مَا أُرِيدُ مِنْهُم مِّن رِزْقٍ وَمَا أُرِيدُ أَن يُطْعِمُونَ. I don't want any sustenance from them. I don't want people to feed me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Allah doesn't need anything from us. All He wants us to do is worship, and even that He doesn't need from us. He doesn't need us to worship Him. He is Al-Ghani. We are Al-Fuqara. We are the ones that need Him. So when we worship Him, it is for our own benefit, not for the benefit of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah doesn't need any rizq from us. What does that mean? He doesn't need anything from us. And it goes on to say, إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الرَّزَّاقُ ذُو الْقُوَّةِ الْمَتِينَ. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself, He is the Razaq, the powerful one, the one who has strength. So He is the Razaq, He is the provider, He is the sustainer. So we should always turn to Him in worship, and notice and remember the purpose of our existence is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And worship again does not simply mean that we go through the motions of the ritual aspects of worship itself, but our whole life is conducted according to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to stay away from the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every aspect of our life, and to observe the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ morning and evening. This is what ibadah actually is, and this is what we should be focusing on in our whole life, and that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us tawfiq to understand and practice what has been said and heard.